Hey, it's Eric Hultgren. On this episode of the podcast, the incomparable Tim Hygh stops by to talk about Mackinac Island. And our next guest on the podcast, as we're broadcasting live at ESTO 2022, the one, the only, the incomparable Tim Hygh. How are you, my friend?
I'm great, Eric. How are you?
I am excellent. I'm excellent. It's so great to see you. And I know Paige and I sort of want to start with the big stuff and kind of like get into what's been going on. But this has been a year for you guys.
Yeah.
You know, we were joking earlier. She was like, you know, what can Mackinac do next? I'm like, yeah, they're kind of like the Ric Flair of islands, right? Like to be the island, you got to beat the island.
Yes,
and you know, when Travel and Leisure comes out and says this, I know you made the announcement like July 12, I think, if I got the date right. But how far in advance did you know that? And what happens in your brain when they go, oh, by the way, you're the best island?
That's a great question. We knew about 4 weeks in advance. And the minute I got the note, it says this is embargoed, but we're letting you know because you did quite well. And then we found out, I think a little bit after that we were actually the top of the category. So the first thing that crosses my mind is, I'll just be honest, there are a lot of these that thankfully that the island is involved with. How legit is it? How big is it? In my mind, in my gut, I knew it was different, but I got the team together. So I got the M-Life team together. I got our PR team together with Finn, and we all got on the call and said, how big a deal do we want to make out of this? And we all decided this is a big deal. And that's what we did. So we strategized after that. Then it was a pretty comprehensive plan that we put together to make sure that all of our friends knew about it, all the people that advocate for us knew about it, make sure our members knew about it. And then we built a kit of digital assets that all of our members can use. And they're using them, which is the amazing thing. I mean, you know, on Mackinac Island, we have 6 months to make stuff happen, right?
Yeah.
That's all you have.
Yep.
So anybody in this business understands how busy you are on a 12-month basis to make things happen. It gets a little more accelerated with only 6 months to go. So a lot of times you don't pick up what's new, you pick up what you plan to do, and that's what you're going to do the rest of the season.
Yeah.
People are adapting to this and taking advantage of it. So it's really good to see that they're using our assets, the digital assets that your team helped us build.
Sure.
So, and now what we want to do is not let anybody forget. What are the appropriate channels that this needs to live on for at least the next year? When you're an island that is so independent, there are no flags, right? There are no Marriotts on there. There's no Hiltons. What do you do to affirm that you're doing the right thing and that your audience is going to feel like this is a place I need to go to? Well, this is total affirmation, and that's why we're using it.
And so, you know, my next question would be like, how proud are you at this moment? I mean, because you've been working here for a minute, friend.
Well, are you doing the Oprah thing right now? Are you trying to get me to cry?
Well, no, because like I imagine it's a pretty big moment for you.
You know, one thing that our team has always said is that we're just so lucky to be here. It's our turn right now. With that said, though, there is a little personal pride that the people that run these incredible resorts and incredible hotels and offer these incredible attractions trust me, they trust you, they trust Paige, they trust the M-Life team, and they've trusted us for a long time to help tell the story. And so, yeah, you know, every once in a while you have to take a breath and say, that was pretty cool. This one was pretty cool.
I need to know, how many islands did you beat out then to be number one?
Oh, well, in the continental U.S., they listed the top 15, if I remember correctly, and I'm supposed to have a list memorized. But Kiowa, I mean, where they held the Ryder Cup, for heaven's sakes, a number of years ago. The Florida islands, you know, all the things in the Northeast, all the ones that you'd think are so cool, and they are. But now we're in the same category, and I think we will be for a while because these types of things don't tend to fade. And it also made us like number 23 in the world, according to their rankings. And now let's think about that.
Yeah.
Wow.
It's a lot of islands around the world that
sure.
offer, you know, destination marketing and places to go.
Absolutely. So. And then seemingly at the same time, Nutella comes out and goes, oh, by the way, we're going to do New York and we're going to do Miami. And, you know, this list would not be complete without Mackinac Island.
A panakuka from Mackinac Island, which is a Finnish pancake.
Yeah.
that's the side benefit of it's the inertia, the momentum that you get. I always, just being around for a long time, press begets press. I mean, PR begets more PR. We tend to copy each other. We tend as an industry, on the media side anyway, and I was in the media for a long time, this looks cool. How can I make it part of what I'm doing, and how can I be associated with it? So, and that's been the approach from day one. Gosh, is this cool?
The one thing, though, I was excited to ask you, because you and I don't get to sit down and do this very often, and just kind of like not necessarily talk shop, but talk a different type of shop. Mm-hmm. How does Tim Hygh stay curious about Mackinac Island? Because every time you talk to you, you absolutely light up about the island, right? And you have been doing this, and you've been in the industry. I mean, you and I have known each other for a long time.
Yeah.
And every time you talk, the energy is still the same, no matter how many years pass between the first time and the most recent time. So how do you stay curious about what you're doing?
That's interesting. Well, the pandemic certainly helped, because the adjustment factor there from our members was monumental and world class. To be able to stay open and extremely busy during the initial parts of the pandemic, in year 2 is, in fact. But I think what helps is that I don't live on the island, and I commute every day. And so I get on the ferry, and I sit in the back, and then I watch. And I watch the families, and I watch the kids.
Yep.
It's very meaningful for a grandparent.
Yeah.
To bring kids to the island, and all of a sudden the kids in grandma's lap, and they've got the phone out, and they're taking pictures of Grand Hotel, because that's the first thing that pops up when you're riding over on the ferry. People need respite, my goodness. I mean, and especially today, so I feel like we're providing a public service, and that's what keeps me going.
Well, and the work that you guys have been doing, obviously through the pandemic and through today, has been profound. And so how has the season been? What's been going on this year? And I guess the follow-up to that is, in light of the press begetting press and the rock sort of rolling downhill, what is next year going to be like, and the year after that? Yeah,
well, we always knew that next year would be the test. We don't know anything during the pandemic, right? Let's be honest about this. Well, we can guess this, but we always guessed that next year would be the test, because your opportunity to travel to more places is there.
Yes.
Will road trips be as important as they have been over the past 2 years? That kind of thing. So how aggressive do we get for the international audience? How aggressive will the people in the Midwest, our core audience, will want to go and travel elsewhere, because there are more opportunities? So next year is the challenge. So this came in at the absolute perfect time. And I'm trying to remember the question, but also...
How is this year going?
Oh, this year's going great. It's more like 19, though, because of some data that we were able to purchase this last year. We can compare it to the 21, 20, and 19. And the traffic patterns and the people that are coming to the island look more like pre-pandemic than they did over the last 2 years.
Wow.
And so business is good. Overnight traffic, to be more specific, is through the roof. And day traffic's down probably 12%.
And if you are listening to this podcast, that's the difference between staying and coming back and forth.
Yes. Yeah, for our ESTO friends, yes, they know that.
And one of the things, though, that, and not just because of our professional relationship, but one of the things that has always impressed me about what Mackinac has done as an entity is your desire to stay innovative, right? To stay on the bleeding edge. Because in many cases, any brand, pick any brand, wins at the Cannes, right? Like at the Cannes Festival or something, right? And then they just go, "We're the agency of the year, done it, right?" And we're done. But it seems like these sorts of moments, of which, to your point, you've had plenty, right?
Yeah.
They seem to inspire you guys to do crazier things. Like what's the next crazy thing?
Oh, you bet. No, I mean, we've got to be innovative. We've got to be where I always say audience, because I come from a broadcast background, but where our visitors come from. And so we've got to be where they are. But we need to give them our experience. So there's that fine balance in between. So like I say, if you come to Mackinac Island, where we're a National Historic District, and we have all these protections in line so that nothing can change too much, you're going to see, hopefully, and relive a memory that you've had before. But if you look to the sky, you can do anything you want from work. I mean, if you need to get online or you need to do anything, we've got those capabilities.
That's what I mean. But, you know, and I hope you take this next statement as a compliment, because I mean it to be, this is like if Westworld went well, right? Because it's
Yes.
that nostalgia and that old world feel.
Yeah.
Using the highest and most proficient technology available at the time.
That's it. We never want to, we're never settled. We never settle for where we are today, and always looking forward to, and we absolutely love new technology, especially when it doesn't get in the way with what we're trying to provide as a brand and as an experience.
Yes, and you've certainly been a good steward of that. So we're obviously at ESTO. We're just getting started. You can hear the people in the background in the beer garden. And Tim, you were saying before we started that this might be your fifth one, maybe your sixth one. For you, having been here a couple of times, what are you looking for, and what is this experience like for you?
Well, number one, I'm so proud that they're here in Michigan and
Right.
Grand Rapids. And if you've been to more than one or two of these, you're going to know that this is the perfect spot. It's kind of like Indianapolis for holding the Big Ten tournament or an NCAA Final Four. I think they need to come back to Grand Rapids every 2 or 3 years. This is the perfect location for ESTO. Perfect size, and everything just fits for this neighborhood. But the ideas that you get when you're here are just amazing, just by either what you hear in a presentation, but by talking to people. And we do this right before we start planning for 2023. You know this.
Yes.
I think ESTO's done on Tuesday, Wednesday. We've got a big whiteboard session. So we're going to take every idea that we get here, plus ideas we've been formulating, and this is very critical for us as we plan our next season.
All right, a couple more questions, and we'll let you get on with all the stuff that you're doing. You know, you said this year has been gangbusters.
Yeah.
Let's fast forward, just 40 days as we start to get into what you would call the shoulder season.
Yeah.
What is that looking like for you? And if people have not planned their trip yet, when should they do it? And I don't mean like they should do it now, that I know that.
Mackinacisland.org.
Right, yes. But I mean, like, what time in October is great, and like, how should they think about that? Because that's a part of the year that I think is coming up faster than most people realize.
It always does. I mean, in Michigan, it's got to be summer, and then all of a sudden, 4th of
Candy
July.
corn.
Yeah, it's over. Yes, exactly. Candy corn. So, September is the best month to be in northern Michigan on Mackinac Island. The blues are a little bluer, the greens are a little greener. Not as many people are able to vacation at that point, so we have fewer people there. So let's take it into 2 different seasons. September 1 to October 15th. Phenomenal. And then the colors start to change, and we change a little later than northern Michigan because we're surrounded by water.
Because of the water, yeah.
And then we go to the end of the month. So take those last 2 weeks and then say, I'm going to Mackinac Island, I'm going to blow it out, because that's the end of the summer. And so those last 2 weeks are total blowout times. We have our Halloween weekend is the weekend prior to the calendar Halloween, and it is a blowout weekend. People are trying to sell things on a little cheaper. It's easier to stay there. There are a couple of runs. It is a lot of late nights, some costume parties. It is a fun time to be on Mackinac.
I actually hit up that weekend on accident like 3 years ago, right before the pandemic.
Am I right?
Oh, 100%. It was a blast.
It's so much for families and for adults, both, yes.
All right, 2 more things, then I'm letting you go. People who have maybe been to the island, even not recently, but let's say in the last 5, 6, 7 years, is there a thing, because obviously you are the foremost authority on what's happening on that thing, like, is there a thing that most people might overlook their first or second time, that if they're coming a third time or they're bringing their family back or whatever, you're like, do not forget to do this thing, right? Because here are the obvious ones, right?
Yeah.
And here's this one thing that will blow your mind and probably won't be top of mind.
You know, that's great, because a lot of people will come back and do the same thing. I did for years until I went to work there. I mean, it was usually business, sometimes pleasure, but I'd always do the same thing, stay at the same place and do the same things. So expand a little bit. Make sure you're taking advantage of not just downtown, but the entire island. Make sure you get out to British Landing, right? And make sure you get a fried pickle out there at the Cannonball. Make sure you go to the top of the island where Fort Holmes is and be able to look at the expanse of the Straits of Mackinac from St. Ignace to the bridge, Lake Michigan, Lake Huron, and Round Island. It's just amazing. But just to expand what you're doing a little bit and still keep your base.
Do you feel, on that note, that when people are coming now, in light of what has happened in the last 36 months, they're arriving and maybe having a better appreciation, if not grasp, of the magic of having something like this in Michigan?
I sure hope so, because we get fewer questions about, a lot of times back in the day that people would come to our window and say, what should I do? I'm only here for a day or two. What should I do? I think the pre-planning is much better these days. You know, our goal on the website is answer every question before they can get there. They might not be able to find it. I can't find it sometimes, but that's the goal, right? And it's massive, right? And we build, I mean, with your team, we build 5 new pieces of content for the website, blog posts and things like that are long form things to answer the questions that we get most often. So I think that the traveler is much better prepared now.
One more time, give them the website if they've not visited, so they know to come up.
MackinacIsland.org, and that's with the C, Mackinac, M-A-C-K-I-N-A-C, which stands for correct. MackinacIsland.org.
Tim Hygh, as always, a pleasure, my friend. It was great to see you again.
Thank you.